it was why me for quite a while. And then what in the heck am I going to do? Alex Rodriguez is the first one that comes out. And he looks down, does like a double take, comes over and sits next to me, and he goes, first time? Honestly, it was just all self-taught. I didn't go to school for it. What I learned school-wise was my high school photography class. So really it was just a lot of trial and error, a lot of money spent at the 1 hour photo lab. When you got this roll of film that cost you $12 to, buy, and then you got to go get it developed.
Yeah.
It's like, so every frame you take it's money. Literally worth money. If I don't have a relationship with somebody I'm taking pictures of, it comes through in the pictures.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Blueprint. Today we've got Aric Becker. He is a superhero photographer. I don't know what that means, but he told me not to say anything except photographer. He's better than that. Aric, thank you for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Are you a little uncomfortable with how close the mic is?
I was going to say, I'm uncomfortable with the mic, the whole thing. This is a little out of my comfort zone. I'm usually on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a little different for me.
Well, that's really cool, man. Honestly, like we had a mutual friend kind of connect us on this deal, and I'm a huge fan of photography and the styles that go through and the trends of the photography that's happening nowadays anyways. But I don't have enough technical specs to ask you enough questions about that. But I do, honestly. Like I can ask you about the depths of the styles of photography that I'm seeing. So I'm ready to get into that and look like I got no knowledge whatsoever.
Well, it's art, so that's right.
Well, that's
in
my
your wheelhouse. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I'm good there. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Okay. So born in North Dakota, Bismarck. Was there for about 9 years. Parents moved. We moved out to Washington, Washington State. Lived just outside of Seattle, about 60 minutes or so. Grew up there and lived there until I was 36. Moved to Hawaii. Okay. Lived in Maui, Hawaii for 7 years. Then I've moved around. Like I said, it's a long story.
Popped in and jumped in a little bit.
Yes.
In Seattle, what year was this when you were in Seattle?
So I was in Seattle. That would be, do I really want to?
Date yourself?
I know.
Hey man, I got all kinds of snow on my chin over here, so don't worry about it.
Okay, born in 73, so moved to, born in 73, moved to Washington in 81. Then I was there until 2002, 2001.
You a sports fan?
I am.
Yeah. You a baseball fan?
I'm a baseball fan.
Nice. Okay. All right.
I think we have a mutual friend.
Yeah, we do. We do.
I don't know if I'll kind of have to share that story with my path and how things have progressed. But yeah, I've got a couple Seattle Mariner stories.
Yeah. We'll have to cross those up in a little bit. And we'll have to reach back out to our person. You know who we're talking about. We'll have to reach back out to him and let him know about that. It's funny how, I had him reach out to me one time, and there was randomly a guy from my hometown that was selling some like jerseys and stuff at some memorabilia. And he calls me out of the blue, and I pick up my phone, and he's like, "Hey B, I'm sitting here with this guy. Do you know this guy? Is this guy telling the truth? What's going on here?" I was like, "Yeah, I know him. He's from my hometown, blah, blah, blah," or whatever. But the guy was like, "How did you pick up the phone and call this redneck out of everywhere?" You know what I mean? So
yeah. It's a small world.
Yeah. So you went to school, you in grade school, high school,
high school. Yep. Okay. And then
graduated high school. Any particular sports or anything in high school? What?
Yeah.
Superstar. Tell me about it.
Not superstar. So graduated high school, played high school football, wanted to continue to play. This is back in the 90s. So obviously recruiting and all that kind of stuff was a lot different. And didn't really know what I was going to do. Just sitting around after graduation and looked in the paper, and our local semi-pro football team needed players. So I was like, hey, well, maybe this is a gateway to, still play and stuff.
Yeah.
So called my dad at work, said, hey, this is what's going on. He goes, well, let's go down and check it out. Well, when I get home, we'll look. So we go out to practice, and I'm not even 18 yet.
Yeah.
And these are grown men out here. I mean, these guys are already graduated. I mean, there's guys that played in the NFL, CFL, stuff like that. And I mean, we watched from a distance, and I was like, yeah, this ain't gonna work.
It's like, Dad, this guy's got a full beard over here. What's happening?
Yeah. I mean, these guys, it was crazy. Coach Sauce, I don't know how, comes walking over towards the end of practice and starts talking to us. And actually watched a couple of my games, knew who I was. And
what position were you playing, by the way?
I played quarterback.
Okay. All right, gunslinger over here. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. A little lighter back then, but so we talked. He convinced me to come out, practice, whatever. Long story short, I had a good year. Ended up playing, starting. Had a couple of scouts talk to me throughout the year, and had a chance to go play for the CFL, BC Lions. And in the off season, was working out and tore my ACL. And that was that.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I see a couple scars up and down your legs over here.
Now I got new knees. He's total knee replacement. So I'm good now.
He's like, I'm all right now.
Yeah.
Well, how was that to handle as a mental aspect?
It was rough. And it was crushing. Because it's the only thing I really thought about doing. It was, ever since I was little, it's all I thought about doing was playing football. And to have that happen, and then also, just life in general, I was like, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do. At that time, my ex-wife and I were pregnant with our first kid. So I'm going through rehab and, all that stuff. She's pregnant. I gained way more weight than she did.
Just been there.
From depression and everything else. And it was rough.
Yeah. Was it a time that you were questioning, like, what's my path? Or you were questioning like, why me? Or like, where are we at here? All of them.
Oh yeah. But mainly probably both those. I mean, really, it was why me for quite a while. And then what in the heck am I going to do? My doctor said, you'll be able to come back and, stuff like that. But my knee didn't take the surgery very well. And then not being young, not really having a, solid job and stuff. Physical therapy was rough. It's just lots of different things kind of snowballed, and, it just was hard. But
did you decide that physically my body won't hold up, or were you told your body will not hold up?
I did. So I did after a while, and after my daughter was born, I did try to come back and play. I didn't work out as near as much as I did before, and I should have, just because, then I did have a 9-to-5 job, kid to, family to take care of and stuff, other obligations, obviously. And I was like, hey, I want to give it a go. And went out, played half the season, and I was like, I'm nowhere near where I was. And my knee, like just things I could do before, I couldn't do it.
You're scrambling quarterback?
I was.
So if you were to compare yourself to any quarterback out there, play style, who would that be? Pat Mahomes.
Back then or now?
Now. No, back then, yeah.
Actually, honestly, probably more Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
I was,
kind of run through somebody, over somebody.
Yeah, a little bit of Brett Favre, a little bit of Mayfield, even though Brett Favre's got the bad rep now, just on the field wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can move a little bit, but definitely could throw.
take on hits.
Oh yeah, so like I said, I was only 18.
Yeah,
and I got these grown men playing with me, and my first game, we get the ball first, and I remember, so I call the play, go up to the line of scrimmage, and the other team knew how old I was because the linebacker's coming right up in my face.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's like, he said a lot of curse words and called me a lot of words and knew I was 18. So
did his research.
Oh, yeah. Snapped the ball. My line didn't block at all.
Wow. On purpose.
I found out it was on purpose.
Wow,
yes. I just got absolutely killed. I mean, helmet was literally turned all the way around. I had scratch mark all the way across my face. So I get up, fix myself, go in the huddle, and I just light them up.
Yeah.
And they all looked at me. I was like, good. That's what we wanted to see. I wanted to see if you could take it or not.
Wow.
And after that, they're awesome. I mean, they're, which I kind of get, but, practice is one thing, but when you actually go out there and a game is a little different. So, yeah.
Yeah. They wanted to see if you was going to break your neck or not.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We're just testing you out, buddy.
Yeah,
we want
to see how tough you were and see if you could actually take it.
Want to see if you had a slinky for a neck or not. No big deal.
Yeah.
That's tough, man. And so then you played out and that started to fade over after you came back.
Yeah. So, after I tried, I was like, okay, this ain't going to work. And, for a while, probably about 6 months, maybe to a year, just normal 9-to-5 job, just was really just trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do. I knew I still wanted to be around sports and, loved football and stuff. And growing up, my dad had a camera. I mean, he took pictures. My uncle, his brother, taught at St. Cloud, Minnesota, university there. I mean, so photography and art. My dad's a huge artist, draws and everything. So I've had a camera and different things, and been around a little bit, and which then this book came out.
Okay.
And I don't know if we're gonna
throw it up there. I mean, if this is the inspiration, throw it up.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously huge sports fan. Growing up in the 90s, loved Michael Jordan.
Goat or no goat?
Oh, 100% goat.
Thank you, sir.
There's no debate.
Wait, give me your top five real quick. Just give me top five.
Oh man, Michael, Kobe, Barkley, Shaq. The fifth one is tough. I mean, Magic.
I love this guy already.
Magic, Bird. I don't know. The fifth one is tough.
Yeah.
But probably, between Magic and Bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine are similar. That gets to 7 though for me. I'm like, 2, 3, Michael, and then I got Kobe, and then I got a slot that's empty, a slot that's empty, a slot that's empty, and then I got those guys, right? And so, and then I got that guy that proclaims himself to be the GOAT way down the list, but self-proclaimed GOATs.
Self-proclaimed. And I will say, I mean, the way I kind of look at it is he is great.
Oh, 100%.
But I saw him actually was able to shoot a couple of his high school games.
Yeah.
And, so I mean, he's been a freak forever, you know. It's like a dude that size and that athletic. How do you not just dominate? Like, 100%. I don't think he actually played as good as he could have. Yeah. It's just, but I mean, I think he's top 15.
Yeah. I always say all the time that anyone that has that skill set should not have to flop the way they do and rely on the refs to carry them. Like, you should just absolutely dominate everybody no matter what.
100%.
Like, and don't look back. Leave everybody in your wake. You are a lion. You are a killer. You are, don't rely on the zebra over here to bail you out.
And the thing that rubs me the most is, how do you self-proclaim you're the GOAT?
Yeah, man, it's tough.
That's an automatic. Yeah, that's an automatic no.
You're out,
not. Yeah. If you got to tell people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always been taught too, like, you do your work, you go through and let other people talk about you.
Exactly.
And that's the way it goes.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, I appreciate that. So anyways, back to your book.
Oh, so, so growing up, obviously in the 90s, being a Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls fan and stuff, this book came out. And it's like the first book that, there's pictures in it, obviously, of his games and stuff, but it's by Walter Ayers Jr.
Mm-hmm.
If you look him up, probably one, maybe number 2 greatest sports photographer ever. Mm-hmm. I've got a bunch of, and our friend has a book by him. Mm-hmm. So his deal, what he did was, this book is, he spent a whole year with Michael and his family. Mm-hmm. And so there's all these behind the scenes photos of him. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I mean, you see lots of the sports pictures and they're great and stuff, but to see the behind the scenes and just the lifestyle stuff, that really
captured reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I was like, man, I want to really look into doing more stuff. Like I said, I took some pictures and, took photography in high school and stuff. And, but that book really motivated me. And, so saved up some money and actually got a job at Kit's Camera for a while so I could get a discount. And, my dad helped me, of course. And, started working. My first, kind of introduction to big time sports. I AAA Tacoma Rainiers, in Seattle for the Mariners team, and, was able to work with them and for them, and shot a bunch of games. So while the Mariners were good for a couple years, they had a kid come up through their farm system named Jose Cruz Jr. And he was amazing. He played center for the Rainiers, but obviously somebody else was in center field. Yeah. So they're like, wanted to move him to left. Yeah. And so they had an injury or something with the Mariners and they brought him up. And I had 2 magazines contact me and said, hey, we heard you work for the Rainiers and you've been following Jose and stuff. We want to hire you. And so that was my first big gig. I got to go to the Mariners when the Kingdome was still around. So it's a long time ago, obviously. But it was pretty interesting.
So what was the role like there when you did that?
Well, so at this time, I'm only, I think it was 21, 22. And, I was a kid. And I called, as soon as the magazine said, yeah, contact the Mariners, they'll get your credentials and stuff. I called them right away. I said, when can I pick them up? Yeah. What's the schedule like? How soon, as soon as those doors opened, I wanted to be there, because I kind of went back to the book. It's like, it'd be cool to, get behind the scenes and, this stuff. The lady that answered the phone, she's like, oh yeah, you can pick up your credentials at this time. And they actually do 2 batting practices. And, you can get there at noon, first pitch was 7:30, I think, that night. So I was there, 12 o'clock. There's not a soul in sight. I find out after a couple hours of just hanging around and stuff, it's like, yeah, they have 2 batting practices, but they never do it. They never show up, So I just sat there, hung out, and then sat there by the dugout. And Alex Rodriguez is the first one that comes out. And he looks down, does a double take, comes over and sits next to me, and he goes, first time? I was like, that noticeable? He goes, yeah, dude, we don't see photographers here until an hour before first pitch. Yeah. You're here really early. He was actually super cool. And all of them actually were really cool. It's like, was able to be able to talk to him for a few minutes and stuff. And yeah, but yeah.
Did they mind you being around? Did you continue to show up early or did you push that back?
So they didn't mind. There's definitely a lot of guidelines and, where you can and can't go and stuff. So they they kind of have a lot of stuff set up where you're not bugging the players. I mean, once they come into your area, that's one thing, or in an area where, you know, you're all right to be. I mean, there's all these, like, you see all these lines when you're watching a game. There's actual lines on the field that, unless you're in the media, you don't know what they are. And it's where the media can and can't go. Like on the football field and everything else. Like, yeah. And there's enough people there that watch it. Like, you cross those lines and you get in trouble. So, yeah. But it depends on the athlete. You know?
And so did you continue to show up early?
So back then, I mean, you know, I was doing some magazine work. I was only able to actually shoot I think I ended up shooting 3 to 4 Mariner games. You know, I was always trying to get on with the newspaper or some of the, you know, now there's a lot more outlets that cover stuff. And, you know, with the wire services, you know, back then I'll shoot film, you know, so I'm showing up with my camera gear and a bag full of, you know, 12 rolls of 36 exposure. And, you know, so,
motoring through it.
Yeah. And, you know, as soon as I get done, run into the post office, throw it in the mail and cross my fingers. Nothing happens, you know, from Seattle to New York where it's going. And yeah, it's a little different back then.
Yeah.
You know, now with all these outlets and, you know, wire services, in a way, there's a little bit more opportunity, but at the same time, the money for sports photography is so small.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of sad part and hard part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're working for
National Geographic or...
Yeah. I mean, if you're like what they call a staffer kind of, even then it's kind of hard, but I mean, at least you're getting a consistent salary.
You know, a lot of that stuff, and I see it in my industry as well. People are taking things from ChatGPT, or they're taking things from Midjourney, or they're doing a lot of things. And, you know, I had a lot of artist friends of mine that were like, hey man, like they're stealing, like I can go type in my name and a subject matter and say, paint in the style of me, and it will produce something like me.
Yeah. The AI stuff now is, I mean, I think there's some stuff that's helpful. I mean, you know, I haven't used it to produce anything.
Yeah.
But like, you know, whether it's networking, some of the, you know, just work stuff on website, computer, you know, stuff like that, I've used a little bit. But it is scary because, like, I just recently I saw somebody, you know, hey, use this ChatGPT prompt, you know, to help with a post or whatever. So now, I don't even know if I want to share it, but you can put a picture on, you know, upload it if you have the paid version of ChatGPT or whatever, you know, and say, hey, you know, I'm going to create a Instagram post using X picture, and it analyzes that picture and will help write, and it knows what that picture is. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to me.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, I mean, and it's scary. Yeah. Cause like you said, you know, cause somebody easily could take screenshots of my stuff, like you said, and hey, you know, I want to create X with
this guy's style. Yep. Yeah. And so I told my friends too, I said, yeah, man, people always want originals just for artists. They always want originals. Right. And for years too, I'm sure that people are wanting that. I mean, I see a lot of photography in galleries all the time. Yeah. So.
And I, you know, just kind of that you brought that up, that's kind of what I've wanted to try to figure out, you know, I mean, kind of thought when, the whole Bitcoin and,
NFTs,
I was like, hey, that might be a way to really, you know, make an original of a digital copy, you know? And I thought that might, I mean, people still say it's going to take off a little bit, but I don't think it's taken off.
NFTs, I think. I mean, I got some NFT friends out there, so no offense, but yeah, that kind of came and went. You know what I mean?
Really quick.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah. You know, and everybody, you know, once people found out that anyone in the world could take a JPEG and throw it on there and make a video out of it, or make an image and sell it out of it, it's like, okay.
Which is one of the reasons I missed film, because then you could really have, you know, just like a painting or whatever, an actual, you know, one of a kind, you know?
Yeah, it just got to where that NFT thing kind of blew up, and so many people hit it at the same time that kind of died off. So
yeah,
that's one of those deals where what's next? You got to find the what's next in the whole scenario.
Yeah.
And so you jumped over, and you're thinking about going to galleries now.
I don't know. I'm always trying to think of something. So
diversify.
Diversify, and also just trying to be myself and different at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as you know, art and creators, it's a crowded space.
Mm-hmm.
And the hard part is, I mean, the gear is somewhat expensive, but the cheaper gear nowadays is way better than it used to be.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can get some inexpensive gear to start out with and do fairly well.
Yeah. And get pretty close to the results. Yeah.
100%. Even now, with AI and, like Lightroom, you can use the AI blur, so even if you don't have that lens that, creates the whole bokeh and the blur and stuff, now you can do it in Photoshop and everything else, which is super scary, So yeah, I'm always trying to figure out how to be a little different and also, at the same time, just trying to be myself.
So I'm gonna step back a little bit. You went, you had 4 games with the Mariners.
Yeah. Yep.
And then
shot with the Rainiers for a while. And then
what does that mean, for a while?
It was probably about 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Does that mean you're going to every home game and away game?
No, it was just home games.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And so what's the schedule like for that? You show up early, you're usually in the clubhouse, you're catching, like, is that? What's the day-to-day like?
So like a typical day would be, first pitch usually was at 7:00. I'd get there 3:30, just wait for guys to start, coming out of it. I wouldn't go in the dugout back then. I think now, the team photographer, they'll get that access, in certain spaces and stuff, but they didn't really have a team photographer per se. Definitely, try to go that route and talk to them, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. But I did get a ton of access, like when the pitchers were coming out and they'd go in the bullpen and stuff, they were super cool, and they've seen me so much. They're like, yeah, where you're going and you're going to stay out of the way and stuff. And, and I wouldn't talk to them unless they talked to me.
Yeah.
I totally respected,
their focus.
Their focus. I get it, especially game day. I mean, and I think baseball more than any other sport, those guys are so superstitious. They all have their own routines and so I've seen enough other media guys come and go, and when they show up for their first time and they want to try to talk to them all the time and everything else is like, dude, you're just making them mad.
I mean, that's good for you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, go ahead and come on in, make yourself mad. You get out of here. I'm still here.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, as you're going through that, so you were there for 4 years. Like, all right, so you're there 4 years. You're learning on the job. Like, you never really talked about the transition from like, I'm playing to I become really good at photography. Like, you really had to dig in at some point, and someone had to give you the ropes. I know you said your dad was in it, and your uncle.
My dad was in it, my uncle, but honestly, it was just all self-taught. I didn't go to school for it. What I learned school-wise was my high school photography class. So really, it was just a lot of trial and error, a lot of money spent at the 1 hour photo lab, taking pictures, and that didn't work. Just lots of that. Even when I was shooting for the Rainiers, and that's kind of the hard part back then is like there's stuff you want to try, but when you got this roll of film that cost you $12 to buy, and then you got to go get it developed.
Yeah.
It's like, so every frame you take it's money. Literally worth money. Yeah. Not like nowadays where, that digital memory card in there, and, I just reformat it and I'm good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So, trying new things, just like, okay, I, just try to do as much research as I could, and, this is also back then when the internet is just kind of getting started. So, but I was able to, meet a couple of other photographers and stuff, and most of the guys that were also there, shooting and stuff, as long as it's not in the middle of the game or whatever, really, really professional and really cool. I mean, everybody knows there's, for the most part, there's enough work for everybody, and you don't have to, gatekeep anything. There's no like hidden secrets and stuff. So I mean, most of the guys are pretty cool. Like if you ask questions and stuff. So
I always try to say there's two types of people. There's somebody who's a famine mentality, and there's someone who's buffet mentality.
Yes,
buffet mentality is there's enough for all of us to eat, man. Like this is not the last meal out there for all of us to fight over.
Right.
And there's the other guy, and so they're willing to teach you everything. Like, yeah, man, let's all move together. And then there's the people out there that are probably a little insecure in what they've got going on as well. And so they don't really have a lot of confidence in that they're still going to outlast or stand above everybody else with their skill set.
Right.
So they try to fight over that last sandwich,
Yep.
And, that mentality is really kind of talks about the person themselves. Right. And so I always try to be the other one, even if I'm trying to coach myself into, believing more in myself, because I mean, at the end of the day, we all got to lift each other up,
Yeah.
It's a short time on this earth. We got a little bit of time to learn and grow and do the things we're doing. And so, that I love that mentality of, hey, let's all lift each other. Do you do that now?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's, being online, and especially if I'm shooting somewhere or something and somebody comes up and asks me a question, or especially, I do a lot of stuff for Roy City, and, I'm around the high school and any of the high school stuff. If I see any of the like yearbook kids and stuff, if I see they look like they're kind of struggling and stuff, I always offer. I mean, go up and say, hey, you want some help? Any tips or anything I can help you with? So absolutely. Because I mean, I remember being there, and especially probably more the Seattle Mariner side. Those guys did really talk.
Okay.
I mean, but also at the same time, those guys are working for the papers. I mean, back then, we didn't have the laptops and, editing and all that kind of stuff. Now, those guys literally would shoot, and there's a dark room underneath by, the dugout. So they're developing their film right there for the newspaper and, getting it sent off. So, I mean, their job was a little more stressful than some of the others. So
they had a crunch time and they didn't have time to play.
Yeah. So
you stay in contact with any of those guys?
Yeah. I'm actually, social media wise and stuff. Rod Marr, who's the Seattle Seahawks team photographer, one of the greatest guys out there. I mean, he is awesome. I mean, he's done workshops and everything, but I mean, if I email him a question, he would email back and answer. I mean, he's an awesome guy. And there's a lot of them like that. I mean, there's, like I said, most of them, most of the guys, and especially the guys that have been doing it for a long time, they get it. I mean, especially nowadays, I think, I don't think there's, that whole secret out there that is, somebody's holding that makes them better than others, So
you went from the Rainiers.
Yeah.
4 years.
So I did that, started kind of just trying to figure out how to keep shooting because I loved it. But also had the family, I gotta have 9 to 5 and, and so.
What was the 9 to 5?
Oh man, at that time, let's see. What was I doing back then?
Club bouncer.
No. Gosh. Like I said, I worked at the camera store for a while. Worked at Foot Locker for a long time. It was probably
you a sneakerhead?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Not as much as I used to be. It's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. How many shoes are we talking about right now?
Don't ask somebody else that's sitting with us.
I noticed there was a long look over there when I asked this question.
Like collector or just sneakers in general?
Just what's your collection like?
I probably have 20 pairs of shoes in the closet right now.
Oh, well, I'm getting the more sign over here. Okay. All right. You got.
But I got a couple that I don't wear.
Okay. Like what are those?
Sit in the box. Jordan 11s.
Okay.
And 4s. Cement. Those are the two
ever going to wear them, or you're just keeping them to sell them?
I've worn them. I've worn each of them twice.
Oh. These are flippers, or these are just special occasion?
Special occasion.
Yeah.
They are my all-time favorites. I mean, I love them. I mean, just lots of memories.
Yeah. No, I got to where I was. I got started off with some shoe guys at Sneaker Politics in Dallas, and they got me kind of introduced to the shoe game. And as a kid, I didn't have a whole lot of shoes. It just wasn't it wasn't our role.
Yeah.
Love you, Mom and Dad. Y'all did great.
Oh, same. And I think that's kind of what got me into it. Once, hey, I'm an adult.
Do what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a bad decision.
I'll eat ramen for a couple of weeks so I can have a pair of 11s.
Yeah. And now I think I've got 80 pair of shoes or something in there, and it's like,
yeah, I was going down that road, and then part of it too is like shoes, photography gear.
Like, 100%. Yeah.
So like I can make money with the photography gear.
Yeah.
If I buy the shoe, I don't want to sell it. And now I'm to the point too, it's like stuff I buy, I want to actually wear. If I had a bigger house and like a spot where I could showcase them, then I probably would more, Like I got a pair of 11 lows that I wear, not all the time, but as much as I can. I love those.
I got probably 8 or 10 that I'm Jordan 1 lows. I'm with those all the time.
Yeah.
But I got, 8 or 10.
It's like a dress shoe now.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can wear that with some shorts. You can wear that as a dress shoe. You can wear it to the golf course. I mean, you can do, that's the most versatile shoe that's out there.
Yes.
Walk into a black tie event with some Jordans on, you're still good.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So you got to the point where.
Yeah. So, I mean, just off and on, between life, family, kids, the photography kind of, it didn't go, but it didn't progress like I was hoping and wanted to.
What does that mean? Does that mean you have a style in your head that you want to achieve? You just weren't growing, or there just wasn't finance behind it?
Finance behind it, support, had to have priorities more towards the kids, and family and stuff. Where, as starting a business is hard, and expensive, So, I kind of try to do it on the side, but at the same time, it's like, when companies would call and say, hey, are you available to do this? Once you say no once or twice, then the phone stops ringing.
Yeah.
And that's super hard. Yeah. And after that happened, I was trying to do it on the side, and, it happened a few times, and it's like, I'm working my butt off to build these relationships. I'm getting the phone call, but then if I can't get off work to go do what they want, it's just, it was tough.
Yeah.
So time went on, kids got older. I still was shooting and stuff. Then digital came around, which, made it, I don't want to say easier, but it was better in some ways, but harder in others. Because then, so like an example, like if I was before digital, a magazine would have a day rate for you to go shoot, and then whatever you shot and what they ended up printing, you'd get another amount. So like a day rate could be anywhere from, back then with film, because it's supposed to cover your cost of travel and film and stuff like that. It, anywhere from $600 to $800. You're not getting that nowadays.
Okay.
I mean, you're lucky to get $200 or $300.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you're, like I said, a team photographer or so, working for somewhere where you're a staffer, like a salary position. A lot of guys you see on the sidelines and baselines of pro and college sports, they're working for these wire services and just doing it what is called spec. You shoot, you put it online, and you're hoping somebody picks it up and buys it. And then you get a percentage of that. So
is that like things like Getty Images and whatnot? Where
there's Getty, there's Icon Sports Wire. There, I mean, there's, and that's the hard part too. Is like Getty's the biggest one. You know, they've got the license deal for a lot of the pro sports. Associated Press is another one, but Associated Press is just from their photographers, where Getty will. They've got their staffers, but then there's so many events. Obviously, they have a lot of contributors. So,
yeah. So you were thinking about, how am I going to make money out of this whole thing? I love doing it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a passion of mine.
Yeah.
Is it financially feasible for me to A, raise a family on it,
right,
and B, still have enough time to spend with my family if I'm doing it on the side?
Yeah. So I was still doing sports, and then I started getting into the portrait and wedding side. Which I never thought I'd necessarily be a wedding photographer. But,
but everything's 10X at weddings, so.
Everything is 10X at weddings. Yeah, everything is. So I shot weddings, ended up shooting weddings for 10 years or so, about 10 years. And actually really liked it. I mean, honestly, a wedding to me for a photographer is like shooting a game. Yeah. Because if you miss the moment, you miss the moment. Yeah. You know, I mean, you kind of, the way I kind of set everything up is a wedding was no different than me shooting a game. I get there early, before the game, shoot the bride, getting ready and everything, hang out with the guys, take some pictures. I mean, like the whole day is almost exactly like any sporting event.
It's like a lifestyle plus moment.
Yeah. 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 So, ended up really liking it and have met some unbelievable people throughout it. Really good friends with some of them to this day. Actually, two of them live here in Dallas. So, and which kind of was why I moved to Maui too. Because I wanted to do weddings, and was lucky enough to have a few couples hire me to shoot with their wedding, that they're getting married in Hawaii and stuff. So went over there about five times before we moved.
That's a pretty good day rate.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad deal. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously more expense to it, but yeah, it was not a bad gig at all.
Yeah. So somebody like that picks up your hotel, flight.
So what I would do with that case, like my normal wedding, I had 3 packages you choose from, and I was in, like I said, outside of Seattle at that time, as long as it was within a, 2-hour radius or so, there was no travel fee or, per se or whatever, so you just pretty much pick your package. But for the Maui stuff or out of state, I would meet the couples. So one thing I did do different, and which really helped me, but also the couples, is I kind of interviewed them as well as them meeting me. Surely. So I get an inquiry.
I don't want to get hung up with no crazies for a.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Especially a wedding day is a long day.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you get along with them, and, you just want to make sure you both get along, know? So when I would get an inquiry, I would set up a meeting with them. And I'm a Starbucks fanatic, so I always pick Starbucks for our meeting place.
What are we ordering there, by the way? Please let it be a frutte lute something.
Quad venti.
Quad. All right.
Yeah. Quad venti, iced caramel macchiato, coconut milk, and extra caramel drizzle.
Nice. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds pretty impressive.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's also $9 now. Jeez.
Oh my goodness.
So I make it at home. But I would meet with them. But when I would show up to the meeting, I'd do a little research on them beforehand.
Okay. And what does that mean?
Well, this was also when Facebook was just starting. So go on their Facebook profile, kind of just get to know them a little bit. So I'd show up with a box that I'd get from either Michael's or some kind of store that is, it's an heirloom box that you put stuff in, And the box itself is supposed to, make sure like if you put papers in it, they don't get wrecked. They're supposed to last like 100 and some years.
It's like a time capsule.
Kind of, yeah. Okay. And the boxes are, especially the girls like them because they're pretty.
Yeah.
But in the box, I'd have a gift for both of them, both the couple. Starbucks card, of course, but just the bridal magazine or whatever. And just a couple little things that, meant something to them, that I would try to find and stuff. So,
okay, that's very nice.
And then, the meeting is more just, just talking, just getting to know each other. All my packages, I would include engagement session, because that was my big thing is I wanted to be able to spend time shooting them so they knew my style and how I worked when I was working, but also get to know them, because it did two things. One, make sure we get along and everything.
Yeah.
Because the engagement session, it'd be, good 4 to 5 hours. We would kind of shoot before sunset, usually have something small to eat, a couple cocktails, and then shoot,
just so they're smiling a little bit more.
Yeah. And then after sunset, and, I always kind of like to do a couple cool night photos and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I showed up for their wedding day, nothing was new. It's just, I just wanted to be, that's Aric, our friend. He's just got a nice camera.
Yeah.
So, and
that's cool. That's you're building a relationship.
Yes.
The entire time. And
100%.
then so they feel comfortable with you shooting and not like because their expression, I'm guessing, is going to change when you've seen the difference between when I cold show up to somebody and when I warm show up to somebody.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And, even the engagement session, the first part is, it takes, everybody's different, but, it takes a good 20, 30 minutes, and especially guys. Guys hate their pictures, but most of the time, after about 20, 30 minutes, they're like, well, this isn't that bad. We're just hanging out, he's not making me do anything stupid or crazy, we're just actually having a good time. So, we went actually down to Austin and shot an engagement session just a month ago, and it was fun.
Yeah. So I really like that aspect of what you're talking about there, of like breaking the ice with someone, not only because like you just want to be familiar with each other, but potentially because they're going to be warmer, they're going to give a better result, they're going to act a little different than if they're nervous about, like their personality could potentially change, and their facial expression is going to match that, by.
And a lot of times, especially with the brides, I was lucky. I never really had a bridezilla or anything like that.
Never. You kind of cut them off when y'all went to Starbucks.
Well, yeah, I potentially could have had one. I will say that was the other thing, is what I really liked about doing the meeting and the engagement session. I had one couple after the engagement session. I delivered the pictures. We emailed a couple of times. She didn't like some stuff. And just between the engagement session itself and those emails, I said, here's your retainer back. I don't think we're a good fit. I think you need to find somebody else.
You need help, is what you said.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
When you go up and you take them to Starbucks, is part of what they order part of how you vet out if they're going to be good people or not?
No.
Like he gets a pike coffee and she gets like this crazy order and then gets mad because they get her name wrong, and you're like, you're out. Wow.
No.
All right, I'm thinking there's something to it. I'm gonna keep studying on that.
I should have thought of that though. I didn't think about it back then.
Yeah, just reading people. I mean,
no, I think there's a lot to that. Because like you said, with my order, you're probably like, oh man, this guy is something else.
You lost me at like the second thing that was on there.
Quad
venti, and I was like, all right, it's 4 large. And then
it's 4 shots of espresso.
That's what I'm saying. It's 4 large. And so I was thinking heart attack the whole time. And then you went into like 3 other things on there. And I was like, I'm not sure what those are, but it sounds yummy coming out of that deal. You know what I mean?
If somebody did just order a black coffee, I would be worried.
Oh, really? My father-in-law is like old school cowboy. And he went with me to, he asked me if I wanted to stop by Starbucks, which I was shocked. We were like driving to the Deer Lease, and he's like, you don't go by Starbucks? And I was like, yeah, sounds great. Didn't ask me what I wanted at all. Walked up and was like, I got 2 pike coffees. And I was like, all right.
I
got this black coffee that was just like, you could have melted your hand inside of it, you know. And I was like, he's like, you got to drink it while it's hot. And I was like, I don't. I was like, you might want to, you know, burn your taste buds off.
Right.
I'm going to wait about 30 minutes on this deal. But that's true. Like you kind of find out if someone is no nonsense or if they're, you know, those things you read in, and having that pre-meeting before the meeting is pretty cool. It's almost goes back to what you were talking about in your photography. You liked seeing those raw photos. You like seeing the before, the lifestyle that kind of bled into it before you got the game time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
It's kind of how you've built your model of interacting with people.
Yeah. And you know, and even thinking more so fast forward into even today and what kind of the stuff I'm doing recently and doing now, is kind of, I really like the documentary style. You know, that's kind of what I really like. But you know, I've been lucky enough to shoot for a couple of magazines, and I just did some photos at Hutchins Barbecue, and the
I saw the BBQ up there. It was pretty sharp.
Yeah, it was really good. But you know, they asked when I wanted to come, and I was like, "Well, what time do you open?" They're like, "Well, you know, doors open at 11." I was like, "Well, can I come at 10?" They're like, 10? Like, we've had other photographers. Why do you want to come after or before the door? Like, well, I want to get pictures of you guys prepping. I want to see what it looks like behind the scenes, you know, that other people don't necessarily always see.
Yeah.
You know? And it was super cool. I mean, you know, I got to get in there an hour early and hang out, and you know, and just talking to those guys too. And you know, and to me too, is they're obviously getting ready, but they also slow down a little bit so I can have a conversation and build a relationship. And that relationship part is a big deal to me, because if I don't have a relationship with somebody I'm taking pictures of, it comes through in the pictures.
Yeah.
They don't look as good. I mean, I don't know if other people necessarily see it, but I definitely do. Like the engagement pictures, you know, per se, like I can tell the ones I did at the beginning of the shoot versus once I have that relationship and trust with them, now they look totally different. So,
yeah, I mean, I think the relationship's everything. I mean, goes back to another one of our mutual friends, Craig. I like to call him Teddy Bear Craig, which he's very widely known for.
Yes.
You know,
he loves being called a teddy bear.
Teddy Bear Craig. Anyways, that's for you, Teddy Bear Craig. But almost the relationship thing, I think that's a really eye-opening thing for me, you know, hearing you talk about photography, because I've always thought about photographers being silent in the background, unknown, unseen, capturing moments.
Yes.
But when you're talking about couples or even, you know, athletes and getting to know them and seeing some of the realness behind them, you can't be that same way.
No. And like you said too, with the relationship, if I walk into a room with my camera, you know, whether it's this little one or my other, you know, bigger cameras and stuff, if I walk in a room and I don't have a relationship with most of the people, they're wondering what I'm doing the whole time. And they're looking at me, and like, you know, I get, you know, and it comes through in the pictures because I get weird looks and like, or just, you know, a lot of curiosity, you know? So vice versa, if I'm able to talk and, you know, kind of be there before, because most of the time what I like to do is I like to just kind of hang out and not even pull out my camera or, you know, take a picture for a good 15 to 20 minutes, unless I really see something. But most of the time I don't. I want to just talk to people, let them know who I am, what I'm going to be doing. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, my goal is for you not to see me, but if you do, you know, this is what I'm doing. So
I have, do you feel like the camera invites people to you, or do you feel like it scares them away?
I think it depends on the person. I think that's kind of almost like there's two type of people that don't mind the camera and, you know, either are all right, or people that been around plenty that, you know, hate their picture taken or don't want it taken. So
I had a buddy that used to, was not a photographer, but he would borrow a camera and he would go to festivals or concerts or whatever. and girls would flock to him. And he was like, this is just he's like, this is my ticket to, talking to girls. And they're like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm a photographer for the festival. And they all, and he's like, not even taking photos, or if he does, he's like turning it like this, And so he's like, it really opens doors for me to talk to everybody. And I'm doing nothing with these.
I can totally see that, especially after we just got back from the Troubadour Festival. And that was my first time down there. That was interesting.
Yeah. What is the craziest thing that you've ever shot? Like I'm talking like rednecks with paychecks, or like where are we at with this?
I'd have to probably go back to the wedding. I did a wedding and the couple was super cool. I would never have guessed this was going to happen. The ceremony was pretty small and stuff. Reception was at this, it's like a family friends restaurant or something. They get done with doing the cake and, kind of started doing, the whole reception kind of things and stuff. And all of a sudden they roll out this keg and they start doing keg stands. And the bride is the second one that does a keg stand. But her hand slips.
Oh, no.
And she took a header on the keg.
Oh, no.
I was like, well.
You have a little gash there or a little bruise?
There was a little one. I mean, she was already pretty tipsy as well. But I mean, that was a little interesting.
It's not the best thing to do in a dress, is it?
No, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I only took a couple of pictures, but I was just like, I don't think you want this as a memory for your wedding. I mean. And
you got it though, didn't you? You zoom in on that cut?
No.
Let's get a little depth of field on that bad boy.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing that you've ever heard? Like, did you ever see any crazy speeches from some of the groomsmen?
I've heard not anything crazy necessarily, just usually some really bad ones.
I'm telling you, I got invited to do one time just as I was out there, and I'm still living it down to this day. I mean, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, we'd all been over there drinking for several hours. Then they started asking people for speeches. I said, may all the ups and downs in your marriage come between the sheets. And half of the place fell down laughing.
Yeah.
And the other half was just appalled.
Mortified.
Yeah. And I just waved to the crowd and I got told to sit down.
That is not that bad at all.
See, thank you.
I have heard way worse from a groomsman. I wish I could remember what he said. But even the people that I didn't think would be appalled by it were like, it crossed the line. Like, yeah, it was pretty bad.
It was old school-esque.
Yeah, it was definitely old school-esque. It was actually, I was in Pittsburgh. I went out and was the second photographer for this wedding that I helped another photographer friend of mine. And yeah, it was quite interesting. I wish I could remember what he said. I thought it was hilarious, but I don't know him. And I'm not family. So yeah.
So let's talk about this. So you've gone into weddings. Then you said the next thing is like, you want to start doing like more behind the scenes, more telling a full story of people.
Yeah, it's kind of my style. I mean, so, and especially, so we moved to Texas just 4 years ago now. So we've been here, and
well, congratulations for getting here.
Thank you. I love it. Mm-hmm. I think she does. But, and 2 years ago we took our first trip to New Orleans. And my first time being there. Wife's been there before, but I absolutely loved it. I mean, I thought it was the coolest place. I mean, just, I don't know, there's just something about it and really spoke to me and stuff. And as we're walking around and checking everything out, we were up in the Garden District and came across a photography gallery, and saw it. But it was, I think it was a Sunday or something, but it was closed. Looked the guy up and he's got some amazing stuff. I was like, okay, next time we come, I want to come by when it's open. I want to actually go inside and look. So a few months ago, we took that trip to New Orleans and was there, and it was open. And the guy's name's Daniel Spielman. And he was awesome. I mean, super nice guy. I talked about all of his work and just was, really open about a lot of stuff, but he also called me out big time. So when we first met, he goes, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" Like, "Oh, I'm a photographer." Well, we went out and did a bunch of stuff the day before, and that morning I was like, you know what? I'm not going to bring my camera. I'm just going to, I want to just kind of chill or whatever.
Yeah.
First thing he says to me is, "Well, where's your camera?" And he goes, "And don't show me your phone because that doesn't count."
Oh, nice.
And I was like, oh. He goes, "If you're a photographer, you always have to have a camera with you." It's like, wherever you go. I was like, all right.
Because you never know.
You don't know. Yeah. I mean, and so shortly after that, and I picked up this little camera and I don't go anywhere without it and stuff. But, we also have my stepson. He had a heart transplant and stuff. So just having that around and be able to catch all these moments at the house and through doctor's appointments and everything. And especially after looking at, like I said, Daniel's work, because he had a lot of, behind the scenes and just, people just at their house and just different things. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. And then I was kicking myself. I was like, why didn't I do this before? Why didn't I think of this myself? Why did I have to have somebody tell me?
Yeah.
So,
Well, but you necessarily didn't, to be quite honest, because going back to your book, or going back to your book, but the book that inspired you was about the rawness and the real,
Exactly.
And so many times, like I think about this all the time. What's more important? Is it more important to have the correct setting? Is it more important to have the correct crop? Or is it more important to catch the correct moment?
The moment.
You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
And so that's the raw thing that people aren't expecting to be there. You never know when that moment is,
No, absolutely. And, there's been a few moments these past, few months, that I've been able to get. And the other thing too, being in that gallery is I was like, I need to start doing prints. It's one thing that, I don't even know how many hard drives full of images and stuff, right? But what is it doing? I mean, I can look at them on my computer once in a while and stuff, but nobody else is seeing it. I've got thousands of photos on my phone, which, when do I look at them? So I started doing some prints around the house. And one thing I like to do too, when I do senior pictures, is do a book. So I do a book of, part of the senior session I try to do is, obviously the portraits and everything, but if they're an athlete, which I lean towards the athletes just because of the sports stuff I do, I'll go to one or two of their games, be able to get pictures through that. So that's included in the book. That's actually where I met our other friend, was at Caddo football last year.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I was doing, is, shooting a game for one of the seniors. I took those pictures. So,
yeah. My boy was playing, that was his senior year. And so I was in the tunnel crew. Yeah. And so,
see, for some reason I thought he was a senior this year. He was a senior last year.
Yeah, senior last year. And,
it was Bennett.
Huh?
Bennett.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was there taking pictures of.
Cooper is my boy, and he was had his senior year, and they, at the very last game, they have this, like, before the games, I don't know if you got to see this, but this is where I think is really cool, like those raw shots that you're talking about, those moments before, which no one gets to see because they're behind closed curtains, but they have this like film room or whatever. They're looking at all the hype shots that have happened from the day before, and they're all getting crunk, and they're, hey, and there's so-and-so, and they're, and there's so-and-so, and there's, whatever. But I knew the coach, and I told him it was coming, and I said, do you mind if I get a couple of friends of mine to kind of reach out and kind of put a couple of plugs of videos in here? And he said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And so I reached out to Bun B, who's a rapper in Houston, and I said, Bun, like, my son and one of his coaches listen to your song every day when they're doing this certain workout. I was like, would you mind just like throwing a plug in there to them? He's like, sure. So he sends them a deal. That's and awesome. He's like, hey, my Caddo Mills Foxes, just y'all's last game, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And he goes into, and Cooper and this coach, he goes, let's get it going right. And he puts a song on, and he's like, starts singing it, and they're all like, right. Well, Ken was my other guy that I reached out to. And I said, hey man, would you mind just like doing this for them? Like that would be great, you know? And so like a week goes by, he says yes. And then a week goes by and he doesn't say anything back. Right. And I'm like, I tell my wife, I was like, am I being pushy on this? Like, I don't want to, I mean, he's my friend. I don't want to, I don't want to cloud the situation with like that. You know, I was like, so if I ask again, do you think that's being pushy? She's like, y'all are friends. Like, this is not like whatever. She's like, we go on vacation with them. Like, they're friends. Yeah. I was like, all right, I'm going to ask one more time, but I'm not going to say anything else after that. I don't want to, you know, muddy it. And, so I reached back out to him and he goes, yeah. Let me get you that. And so he sends me a video and I said, thank you. And I send it over to the coach. The coach puts it into the film the next day. And then, you know, as they're doing the hype or whatever, you know, the behind the scenes and the video that's playing on there is not the same video that he sent me. And I'm like looking around like, what is happening? And on the video, he goes, hang on a second, guys. And he gets up and he walks off the camera. And then all of a sudden he turns and he walks in the room. This cat flew from Orlando.
And you didn't know?
I had no idea. My wife knew, his wife knew. They planned it around me.
That's awesome.
And he walks in and he points like this and comes up and speaks to the kids, you know. Those behind the scene moments, those are the real things. Like I've got several videos and stuff kind of telling this story, but those behind the scene moments are everything, you know? And so, that's why I think that is so special. You capture all of those, you know, getting the heartfelt things, not just the impact, not just the catch, you know, there's moments of life and there's moments of like perseverance and what I had to go through to get to this moment. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And that, you know, Roy City got the new football coach last year and I reached out to him right away and I was like, I want to come out as much as you want me to come out. So I'd like to document, obviously, you know, kind of the new regime coming through and everything. But I like to, you know, take pictures while they're in the weight room. And like, you know, I get there when they're, you know, they start doing stuff at 4:00 or whatever. I mean, that's the stuff that I like to show and shoot. Even during the game, I mean, of course I want to get, you know, the peak action and stuff. But I think some of the coolest things are the interaction between the coaches and the players on the sidelines. You know? I mean, you know, those are
the moments.
Exactly. I mean, those moments, you know, and a lot of times, you know, especially being a past player, you know, that's the stuff I remember some plays and stuff, but I really remember, you know, messing up and getting my ass chewed, you know, by the coach, you know, on the sideline, you know, stuff like that. I mean, not in a bad way, but, you know, like, hey, you know, let's get this thing going and, you know, just, you know, teaching moments and stuff. So
it's funny. If you remember the things that meant the most to you, right? Like kids today are conditioned for showing something on their phone or we're conditioned to look at Sports Center of the highlight or the big knockout or the whatever.
Just YouTube clips.
Yeah. But my favorite photo I have of my life of my sports life is my senior year playing baseball with some guys that I'd played with since I was 12 years old. And it was our last game, the last one that we'd ever play together. And there's all the seniors there in a row with their arms around each other and it's in black and white. And you can see that our eyes are all kind of swole up or whatever. We're just kind of there together, but it's like captured like an old 50s film grain photo, you know, and it's just like timeless, you know, and we all, to a man, all have that photo.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
awesome.
But that's the moment. That wasn't one of us hitting a home run.
No.
That wasn't one of us tagging somebody out or striking somebody out and doing this or whatever.
It goes back to the relationship thing too, we were talking about. You know, if you don't have a relationship with all those guys, you know, you're not going to take that photo.
All right. So I'm going to start getting into we've gone through the emotional setup and how you got here and everything else. I want to get into a little bit of the tech spec behind some of the photography, right? Because some of the photography setup in that is, if I'm doing tabletop, tabletop for those out there listening is like I'm setting up something right in front of me.
Like food.
Creating food, a watch, shoes, whatever. And I set the lights exactly where I want. I set the camera I want. I set a bounce card or whatever, just to get the lighting exactly where I want it to be. And then I set everything for a moment. Click it, right? For a hero shot. if it's live action, you don't get that, right?
No.
Are you placing yourself in an area? Are you scouting out the area beforehand? How do other photographers know it's not just about where the action is going to happen, but where I am to where the action happens? How do they scout that?
So there's a couple of things. Like if it's any sporting event, it's one of the reasons I want to get there early is to scout. Like, okay, where's the sunset going to set? What time of day is it? So because to me, everything's about light. So where during this time of the game, the light's most likely going to be here. So I need to be here. A lot of times I put myself in a spot, depending on the sport, like say golf, for instance, I'll put my spot or myself in a spot and wait for somebody to get in the spot that I want them because I'm looking at the background, but golf obviously is totally different than basketball or football. Football wise, football is, if I'm shooting the offense, I want them coming at me. So I'm, 20, 30 yards downfield. So I can get the action coming, towards me. And then it's, which side of the sideline do I want to be on? That's going to dictate, where the sun is.
Do you want to have the sun? Do you want to be between the sun and the object? Or do you want to be the sun on the other side of the object? Like
typically, so if the sun is behind them, we call it backlit. Right? I like backlit. A lot of other people don't. But I also lean, if you look at a lot of my work, is a lot of black and white. So backlit is really nice black and white. But most of the time, I'm going to try to get the sun behind me.
Okay. Until it gets really late, and then you try to get.
Yeah, and then once there is no sun, I only get sun the first 2-3 football games for the first half or so, and then once the lights are on, then it doesn't matter. And it's just ugly.
So let's just talk about the things that are most important when setting up photography. Lighting, number one.
Lighting, number one, is everything. Lighting is everything in photography.
Okay. Position is in there.
Yeah.
Camera, lens,
then camera.
Lens, then camera.
Lens is number one.
Okay.
Actually, I'd probably even put lighting, lens. I mean, if you're going to rank them.
Yes, sir.
Lighting, lens, then position, because your lens is going to dictate your position, and then camera.
When you think of lens, do you think of how much space I have to work with in that lens? Like, I can't be too close to this wall over here because I've got something that's going to really try to get a depth of field, and I'll never get it out of this lens.
Yeah. So focal length is definitely a big thing, but for me, more important is the depth of field.
Okay.
So they call a fast lens the lower number. Like this camera here is a 1.7. So I have a super, super shallow depth of field.
1.7 of those out there that don't know means what?
Means your depth of field, which is going to be in
your
focus.
Yeah.
The part of what you're looking at that's in focus is very, very, very small.
Okay.
So like if I took a picture of you with it right now, like that wall would be out of focus, even though you're so close to it. Yeah. And depth of field is, that's what you want, especially sports wise, because you want that person that you're taking the picture of to pop off the screen.
So you want like a lower number, the lowest number possible. Okay.
So everything else is blurry. So the only they are in focus. So they look almost, if it's really good, it almost gives a 3D look.
Right. Okay. So lens and focus. I noticed that you do a lot of like trickery on some of your shots. And I say trickery to those that are out there. This is my technical terms, trickery. Like that deal with shutter speed, right? That show motion, that show like a part is focused and a part is kind of blurred, right? Inside the same shot. Like that doesn't have to do with, I could be on the same plane here, but depending on what's moving in the scene, depends on where my focus at. Explain that a little bit. Trickery.
So I'm guessing so I have a picture of a pitcher.
Yeah.
He's going through his motion, and then his face is sharp, in focus, and then you can see. So it's a slow shutter speed. So you can catch the movement. So the shutter opens and then closes. Where most of the time you want a super fast shutter, so it freezes the action. It's really hard to do. I mean, to get that picture, I probably took 20 to 25.
Catch it once out of 20, 25 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, going back to, like I was talking when I first started, I would love to do something like that. I'd go through a whole roll of film trying to get that one shot, which, back when I was an 18-year-old kid, I was like, I can't burn a whole roll. Especially then too, you don't know if you got it. I can't take a picture. Oh, I didn't get it. Take a picture, look at my screen,
Yeah.
Back then it's just, you shoot and cross your fingers. You knew what you were doing.
So you're planning for this one moment, right? You know what that lens does. You know what you're calculating. What am I calculating? Distance, speed, light. What am I doing?
So a shot like that, the first thing is light. And then, kind of composition, so it's major league pitcher, a little easier to do because he's consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys, they're like robots. It's crazy. I mean,
you mean their movement is consistent every time? They're not
every time.
And someone who's more of an amateur is going to be falling back on his balance or doing.
Okay. Their landing spot might be a little off.
Yeah.
Where a major league pitcher, man, those guys,
they have to hide their pitches, so they have to make the motion exactly the same every single time.
Yeah,
I got it.
It is crazy. And then shooting a lot of Major League Baseball, knowing the pitcher, and after, because typically a shot like that, I won't do until he's pitched, a good 2, maybe 3 innings, because I'll get to know him, because I'll watch him like, okay, this count, he's usually throwing a fastball. This count, get to see. So as the game goes on, I'm kind of in the game myself, getting to know these guys and what they're trying to do, so I can kind of anticipate the action myself.
You're not a bystander. You're calculating.
Oh no. Yeah. You have to be calculating. If you're just a bystander, just kind of hoping and praying, you might get a couple here and there, but I mean, if you don't understand the game and understand the players too, I mean, it's not luck that you can get some really good pictures.
When they're going to go on the stretch from the wind and somebody's on base, somebody's not on base.
Oh, yeah. And knowing which guys are going to steal, and, football wise too. I mean, knowing the tendencies, what do they usually do on second down? What do they do on second and long? Just a lot of those types of situations definitely will help knowing where to be and what to look for to get, the action.
So also when you're setting up, I'm thinking of some of the other ones for the depth of field that you have. I'm guessing, for the lens that you pick for that day, are you bringing multiple lenses as you're coming in throughout the day?
Yeah. So depending on the sport, like let's say football, for example, I'll have 2 cameras, each have a lens, typically, the one's on a monopod with a 400 millimeter. And then my other camera, I'll have a 24 to 70, and then I also have a 70 to 200 with me. So I'll kind of switch back and forth, depending on what's going on. I like the 24 to 70 because that's where I can get really close in the huddles, on the sidelines, get portraits of the kids, just different moments. It's kind of the 24 to 70 because I can go wide, but get really close. It's more moment wise, where my 70 to 200 and then the bigger lens, that's just action. I mean, I can get some, tight portraits if I'm far away, but typically I like to kind of be up and close. So,
and I'm thinking of like the distance, because you said there's so much math behind it, basically.
Yeah.
Let's say you're at a baseball game and you want to get, the pitcher winding up, and you want to get, what's the game or the movie with Kevin Costner, and he's For the Love of the Game, I think is what it is. He's a pitcher that, if you haven't seen this, you got to check this out because you're going to love this, right? During the game, when he goes into focus mode, like it has one of these shots where the depth of field on him it's focused directly on his eyes, and the whole stadium blurs out because and they even play games with the sound too, because like it goes into hush mode.
Yep.
And then the place blurs out, and it's just him and the batter. And they're all blurred out. Everybody and just him, and his only things in focus is his catcher and the batter and him, right? And it's such a visual explanation of what you're talking about, right? Well, understanding that you're going to be doing a baseball game, you want to catch the pitcher doing certain things. Are you calculating? It's 90 feet per base. It's 45 feet. So I need to take a lens that's going to catch focus here, or is there enough control on that lens that I can throw it within 15 or 20 feet and control a little bit of the lens? Like, how's that work?
A little bit. I mean, it's really, what shot am I going to try to get? So one shot that I really like with pitchers is I'll try to get somewhere behind home plate and get just the pitcher. And as he's throwing, I want the ball just barely off the tip of his fingers, and so I'll use my bigger lens because I can get closer. And then, because I want him isolated.
Are you shooting through a fence, or are you shooting what?
Yeah, I shoot through a fence.
Okay.
Typically, I'll shoot through a fence. I mean, even at, Globe Life, shooting the Rangers and stuff, I'll sit in like the probably 5th or 6th row because I want to be able to get above the umpire, and get kind of a straight shot, to the mound. And then, so it's really about composition. I don't want to have to crop it too much because the more you crop, the less, kind of degrades your picture. So, and then fast shutter speed so I can stop the action. And, that's where the camera does help because, when you can shoot 30 frames a second, it kind of helps.
When you're in the stands, and you're shooting through the net, you're trying to zoom as close as you can so you can hit through one of those holes on the net?
No, so when you're shooting through with a longer lens, because, like if I'm here, the net's here, and then he's here, that net doesn't you don't even see it.
Because it's black.
Even if it was white.
If it was a chain link fence?
I shoot through the chain link fence at the high school.
It just magically goes away.
There's math to it. I'm not a mathematician at all. It has to do with the subject being so far away from the fence. Now, if I used a different lens, like my 24-70 or something wider, it wouldn't do that. You would see some of the fence, but because the longer lens, it just the fence and net disappears.
That's incredible.
It's crazy.
I saw this thing the other day it had, and the reason I bring up the black and white is because someone had like this chicken wire fence or whatever that was around their house, and it was kind of ugly looking, right? And it was like a white, whatever metal color, right? They went through and they just rolled it with black, and it completely disappeared. I was just like, wow, what tricks that does with the eye, right? It's unbelievable how that happens, And so I was thinking, maybe because I know the nets are black around the field. That's the way they set that up. It's visual, right?
Yep.
But every high school game has got a, chain link, galvanized metal fence, and those are a different color, and those are going to stand.
Although we are very spoiled in Texas with our high school fields.
Yes. For sure.
My son, like I said, we grew up in Washington, and he's come out and he's just like, he coaches high school football, and, their stadium, I don't even think is as big as the middle schools here. So it's crazy. All these awesome lights we have, LED lights. And some of these stadiums for the high school are better than the college stadiums I've shot in.
We've talked many times about as these kids leave their high school and they go to even playing some Division I schools.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They're going to downgrade going to the next level.
Yep.
It's a pretty amazing thing about Friday Night Lights is not a lie.
No, I think it's just sports in general. Obviously football's king, but it trickles down. The other sports are also reaping some benefits of it. So that's pretty cool.
Do you think now that you've gotten here to Texas and you've seen a lot of this, do you think we're more into sports because the weather is more okay for us to do this full year round? Or do you think just genetically God-gifted Texans better than the rest of the world?
I don't think it's necessarily.
Just pause, wait before you think.
Okay, all
right. Now we're ready. There we go.
I don't think it's necessarily the weather.
No, it's God-gifted. All right, I'm with you.
Because how many schools have indoor facilities? What does the weather matter?
I mean, up north, right? That's what I'm saying. You guys aren't going to play as many sports.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right? Are you okay? I see what you're saying. Sorry.
Yeah. Because football's not like this up there. Baseball's not like this up there.
No, sports in general are not
right.
From what I've heard, I think Florida is close.
Yep. And California.
Mm-hmm. But even California,
bless their heart. Yeah. Yeah, they're trying.
Yeah. I mean, California's different. I mean, they've got 8 million divisions, and it's how they do sports there is crazy. But they don't fund it like we do either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Texas, they fund their sports.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where, just talking to my son, a couple months ago about the stuff they're trying to do and raise money for, and they don't have athletic period.
Mm-hmm.
They get to see the kids for an hour and a half, and their dead period is most of the year. I mean, it's.
And we got workout before school. We got workout after school. We've got a couple of extra electives, which are like weightlifting and some other stuff. Plus, you also got athletics you got to go to, and that's. Then you got to go back up on Saturdays, read film, check things back out. Yes. You get Sunday off. That's it.
Yeah.
Period.
And that's pretty much every sport. Yep. It's not just football.
Yep.
Me being a sports fanatic, I love it. I mean, if I would have known back then, I would have moved my son here, then, but I didn't know.
Yeah. It's funny as you start talking about progress and if I'm missing anything on the camera before we jump to this next level, if I'm missing anything on how you prepare, go ahead and throw that in here.
I don't think so, because it can get real nerdy real quick.
Let's nerd up. I mean, August is here. August has been waiting for some nerd up for a minute on the camera.
Does he have any questions?
What are you thinking, August?
Let's hope this mic's working right. Something I was wondering is, you and I are both taller guys, and I've done my knees as well. These sports shoots, how often do you find yourself on the knees, on the stomach? I've been on the stomach quite a bit myself.
Yes.
I don't know, you get up, you brush yourself off, but it's worth it, right?
It is worth it. Being on the knees is, especially now after having mine done, and during football, especially at the beginning of the season, when it's hot, that turf is smoking.
Yeah.
I think it just now healed. Literally, for most of the year, I'll have, because I've tried knee pads, I've tried different things. I'm going to try something new this year. It is hard, but it's also, it makes a huge difference. Anytime you shoot sports, you want to have a low angle, because it just looks better, more dynamic, cleans up your background, makes them look like the hero.
Angles are sharper.
It just looks really good. So it is worth it. And there's tons of times where I'm laying down, just trying, however I need to get the angle I can. Also the new mirrorless cameras are definitely nice, because with the flip out screen, I don't have to lay down as much anymore. So, that part is kind of nice, that helps. But yeah, the low angle definitely is huge.
Anything else?
White balance in camera, in Lightroom.
In camera.
Are we doing neutral? Are we going stylized? Everyone's got their own thoughts on this.
So if the light is changing a ton, like if I'm shooting football,
yeah,
at the beginning of the year and the lights aren't on, but there's tons of shadows, different things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the new cameras are so good. It's crazy. Auto white balance. Unfortunately, I normally wouldn't say that before, but yeah, now with the new cameras, yeah, it's just auto white balance. Once the lights come on, and I'd say probably anything indoors, basketball wise, I'd shoot Kelvin. So I'll pick, which Kelvin is a temperature. So you shoot what, you think the light temperature is. So as the light changes throughout the day, the temperature of the light changes. So
usually, I was going to say that's a warmer color.
You can make it warmer. That's the other thing I like about Kelvin is you make it cooler or lighter. Typically here, I'm anywhere from 53 to 5400. So, which is crazy because like Washington, because farther away from the equator, I mean, just different things. Like I couldn't do 53. It would be too cold. It would look blue almost. It's crazy. There, I'd have to go 56, 57. Hawaii, I was like 51, 52. I mean, like, so that's been interesting as I've shot different places around the country, like how much the sun is different. But anyways, like I said, we can get super nerdy, but
big shout out to the cloudy white balance preset on the old Nikons. If it was a physical button, I'd have worn it out by now.
Nikon?
Where are we at on that? Are we Sony, Nikon, Canon?
I am Canon.
Tell me the difference there. Why Canon and why
it's personal preference.
Yeah, I know, but what was the scoff there? Because you when he said Nikon, it's almost like someone put an odor underneath your nose.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah. I'm not a Nikon fan.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Why?
I just think it's
baby stuff. Yeah.
Although my friend Rod Marr that I said earlier, he shoots Nikon, so I can't talk too badly.
Yeah.
It really is just personal preference. And everybody gets a little territorial. It's like barbecue here. People fight for Hutchins, people Terry Blacks, everybody has their, best barbecue spot. Same thing with the cameras.
Yeah, teddy bear.
Yeah. And Ken used to shoot Canon. He switched to Sony.
Yeah.
But yeah. You want to hear a quick story with
him? Hit me. Let's go.
He crushed me.
What do you mean he crushed you? We're talking about
crushed me.
All right, we're talking about our friend, our mutual friend, Mr. Griffey.
So my first magazine shoot, when I showed up early, I was also supposed to get a portrait of Mr. Griffey.
Okay.
Mr. Griffey was a little late. I was in the dugout waiting. Came out, said, "Hey, can I get just 2 minutes? I'm supposed to get a portrait." Looked at me, said no, and just walked off. Yeah. So as a 20-year-old kid, I was crushed because I was like so excited for that.
Yeah, this is my job, my one job. I was telling everybody I get to do it, and then got to know.
Yeah.
You make it up to you ever, or just?
Oh no,
you just got what you got.
Yeah. So when I mentioned to him that when I saw him at Caddo, and we laughed and stuff. And I've read and heard from a few other photographers that were around him a lot more than me, obviously, that ESPN, just a bunch of other guys and stuff. And I guess it's kind of was his deal is, not that he didn't like the media, but just was a little standoffish, which I totally get, But from what I heard though, is if they would give it back to him, he actually respected him more, and then he was all right.
Yeah.
But as a 20-year-old kid, I'm not doing that. Yeah. I wish I knew that and did.
The very first time I met him, we were both in a place where nobody knew him, and so it was on the other side of the world. Nobody knew him, and I walked up to him and I said, "Man, if you can let me talk baseball with you for 5 minutes, I'll never say anything else again." And so we're talking, and he's like, "Yeah, shoot." So as we're talking, I said, "What do you do for competition now that you've gotten out of baseball? Like you have to have something, right?" And he goes, "Oh, I play golf now." And I went, "Oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is great." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "I'm going to kick the crap out of a Hall of Fame baseball player in golf." And he laughed so hard. He goes, "I like you. We're going to be friends." And literally, that's how our relationship kind of kicked off,
That's awesome.
into that point. So he does like it when you give it back to him. But
did you beat him?
I didn't beat him.
That's what I've heard.
He told you that?
No, I've heard he is. So a really good friend of mine, car business, long time ago. He has a story about Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Some mutual friends.
Yeah.
They go play at this country club in Seattle and stuff. Ken's, I forgot who he was playing with. Anyways, it was a twosome, so they played. I don't remember how much they played for. It wasn't a ton, but I mean, anyways. But my friend lost.
Mm-hmm.
Ken's team wins.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, so you guys pay up. And he was like, well, does the clubhouse have ATM? They don't have ATM.
Mm-hmm.
Guess he followed him to the bank to go to the ATM to get his money.
100%. Yeah. 100%. And it had nothing to do with the money.
No.
It was all personal.
And he knew that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my buddy is like, he thought it was the funniest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also the awesome. I mean, it's like, I'm so glad he didn't just say, oh, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why did we play
something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got down to
It's just about winning and losing. And that's the competition piece.
I had him down 2 strokes going into 17. And I plugged a ball in the side of the bunker. And I got it out. But when I got it out, I flew it over the top and into another bunker. And then I got up. And anyways, didn't get up and down. And he ended up beating me. And I'll just say this, like, he was very respectful about it, to be quite honest. And I expected him to dump on my head, but he didn't, because he knew he was that close to getting beat too. But I told him, I said, man, I own it. Like, you beat me straight up, and I can't say anything about it. I could sit here and get mad about a fried egg, golf ball in the sand trap, but I didn't, and so he respected that too. And I just gave him his kudos, but he knew he was close, so. Yep.
Yeah. Walter, that did the book here. He spent a bunch of time with Ken and did a book. Mm-hmm. I have it at home, and it's one of my favorite books as well, just because seeing the behind the scenes and stuff. Yeah. And when I saw him at Caddo, which was again crazy, I was like just standing there on the sidelines, and it's like, is that no? Right?
Yeah.
Then he saw my camera gear, and he loves to shoot as well. So he's a big photographer himself.
Yeah. Just saw some stuff with the Masters, and
Mm-hmm. Yep. His safari trip he took.
They say don't meet your heroes, but that dude is salt of the earth, and I'll tell that hands down to anybody that I ever met. Like, that guy is. Yep. That guy is good people.
Yes. Absolutely.
August, what else you got for questions over here? Nothing. The little red button on top. That's what I've brought to the table.
Could you tell that Brandon was making everything up that he tried to say about cameras?
Maybe not making
I'm just kidding.
Maybe not making it up, but just reaching a little bit, maybe.
Ancillary knowledge on that bad boy.
You're going to say Ansel Adams. I was like,
Ansel Adams.
Here we go.
It's a real Ansel Adams right there. No, but that's cool. So what's next? What's next for you going forward?
What's next? So actually, these last couple months have been interesting. Feel like, obviously still going to shoot sports, and, try to plug away at that. I've got, I'm going to shoot with the U.S. men's national soccer team, photography team coming up for Gold Cup. And then obviously cross my fingers, World Cup next year.
So stay in sports.
Yeah, but also shoot. I do media days for Royce City High School and the middle schools. So all their team portraits and everything. I love doing portraits. I've also started doing a lot of food photography. Mm-hmm. I've liked it, and it wasn't necessarily something I really started to market to. It kind of evolved by itself a little bit, which I love it. Yeah. And
that's a hard thing to shoot too.
It is hard. It's a lot harder than it looks. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a lot harder than it looks. I mean, that food, if you're shooting real food, not, because a lot of stuff that you see advertising wise is fake.
Like syrup on a glass. And
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of tricks. I took a photography workshop class actually just last year on it. And yeah, the fake ice cubes, all that kind of stuff. But, but yeah, I entered a contest for World Photography awards and was a finalist for the James Beard Foundation Award for one of my photos. So that's
awesome.
Yeah, I was shocked. I mean, it was super cool. And that kind of led to a few other things. And like I said, I just, shot out at Hutchins, and I've got another mutual friend of ours. He's opening a restaurant in Denton, Mexican Oak. So I'm going to do some photos out there next month and hopefully just continue to grow that. So it's kind of what I'm focusing on is between sports, portraits, and food.
Okay.
So,
well, I'll tell you what, man, I hope as we go through this, man, I hope you really focus on that lifestyle, man. That to me really tugged at my heartstrings for a minute because I just thought of like all my memories, right? And none of them were the big moments on the stage. They were all the behind the scenes. And so hearing you talk about that is a rare thing to get exposed for a lot of people. And so
that's why, even when I talk to the restaurants and, I put together a PDF and, when I'm reaching out and stuff, is, I want to be able to tell their story. I don't want to just come in, take a couple of nice pictures of, whatever their special dishes are and stuff. I want to actually be able to come in, see behind the scenes, tell the story of the chef, just really show the people, because I don't know if a lot of people understand. I mean, running a restaurant and cooking, and that is not easy.
No, not doing it well.
Exactly. And then if you're doing it well, it's really hard.
I have Hurricane.
I have a ton of respect for those guys, and just want to be able to tell their story.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Couple other things. I'm gonna hit this really quick. You're to drink some alcohol. Are you drinking beer, wine, whiskey, clear something? Or you got seltzer up in there somewhere?
No seltzer.
No seltzer.
I'm not a seltzer guy.
Not a seltzer guy. No clears.
I mean, I like tequila too.
Okay,
but I've really leaned more towards
bourbon. What are we drinking in a bourbon? What are we doing?
I love an old fashioned.
Okay,
a good old fashioned is my go-to.
You got orange slice in there and some bitters and some. Yep. How do you build yours?
Gotta have the good cherries.
Okay.
What are they? What's the name of them?
Oh, it starts with a B. What's the?
No.
Luxardo.
Thank you.
That's what I said. It starts Boston. With an L.
Luxardo cherry. Yeah. A little bit of bitters, usually 4 dashes.
Okay.
A little bit of orange slice. Luxardo cherries, and then bourbon. Sure. I forget the name now.
I've been throwing a little bit of Buffalo Trace and some and I had one that was accidental. Somebody made one for me like that, and I was like, "This is insanely good."
Yeah.
So some Makers, Woodford,
TX is good.
TX, Garrison Brothers.
One that starts on an H, and I can't think of what.
Help me something.
No, I'm lost right now. I totally went blank.
Yeah. And everybody listening is like, I know. They just told us real quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And probably named like 8 other recommendations of, if you like old fashions, you got to do it this way.
Yeah. You ever tried the smoke stuff that goes on top of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think?
It's all right. I don't mind. I mean,
it can get heavy real quick.
It can get heavy. I do one, but usually I just like it, just normal.
Yeah.
Where do you go if you're around here?
I go to my backyard is where I go.
That's usually us as well.
I honestly, the older I've gotten, the less I want to get around crowds, to be quite honest. Like, I don't like people bumping into me. Physically, I don't like people bumping into me. I don't like people. Right. I think it's too loud. First off, I can't tell what people are talking about, and I'm just smiling and looking at you the whole time. And it's like, I really, honestly, I've gotten to this stage in my life where I really enjoy a true conversation with someone that's not surface level.
Yep.
And I want to just ask you about things in life that mean things to you, and where did you go? And as I've gotten to this age too, like, I don't want to say I've gotten weepy, but there's things in life where I see a family member see something in their kid and they smile or they light up or whatever. And that just makes my heart thump, And so, or maybe I get a chip stuck in my throat and my eyes water up or something. But, but those things, like, those mean a lot. And I want to have those moments with people now. And I can't have those in a large crowd. So
I agree. Tough part for me, I'm definitely a homebody. I don't know. There's something about being a creative as well. Is like you get drained mentally really fast a lot of times. But I also need to get out because I get creative inspiration with certain things, especially now doing more of the food stuff. So yeah, I struggle with, sometimes I want to go out and stuff, but I'm the same way. As like, if the place is loud and I can't have a conversation, I can't stand that.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Well, I'll close out with this. I'll say, for someone that said, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this or talk through this, we're at an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And I told you it would fly by, and you kind of looked at me like I was sideways.
Yeah. I'm shocked.
Well, I really like your hat up here. It's nice. Keep creating. That's your brand.
I created the hat just kind of for a branding piece. Okay. I've got the hat, and I've actually got it tattooed on the arm, and in Hawaiian, obviously, but just kind of a little reminder to myself, and just keep creating.
That's cool. Well, everyone, that is Aric Becker. You can reach him on Instagram at Photo Ninja /keep creating / I don't know, where can they find you?
It's Aric Becker Photo on Instagram, and Aric is with an A, which will throw everybody off.
And a C.
Okay, I didn't think the C was that bad.
No, it's not. Just
ARIC.
Yeah, there you go.
Aric Becker Photo.
Yeah,
it's on Instagram.
Yep. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. It was awesome. It was a great conversation, and really appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Well, everybody, until next time, that's the blueprint.